Maria, welcome back to No Apologies. In today's vlog, we're just going to take a moment to review where we're going and where we've been in these past few vlogs so that we can kind of keep the big picture in mind. So starting at vlog number 20, we began our series entitled The 6 Steps to Catholicism. And our goal was to show that by ascending these 6 logical and progressive steps, we can show how reason points out the truth of our Catholic faith. So we began on step number 1, which was that God exists, and we showed some rational proofs for belief in His existence, including the need for a first cause, just meaning that nothing is able to create itself, the need for a prime mover, for an intelligent designer. We also looked at miracles as a proof for God's existence, and we also replied to the objection that the existence of evil equals the non-existence of God. Well, from our first step, we went on to our second step, which was to show that man is immortal, meaning that he has a soul, which is a spirit, which is destined to live forever. And some of the arguments we used to show this included just the fact that the soul was a spirit. So by the nature of the soul itself, it's incapable of death and decay. And we also looked at man's built-in sense of moral obligation and our sense of justice and our desire for an everlasting happiness. And all of which, from these things, arguments can be formed showing the reality that man's life continues after his death here on earth, and that in the next life there will be reward and there will be punishment according to our good and to our bad. So then we pointed out that by acknowledging the first and the second step, it leads us to our third step, which is that man has an obligation to practice religion. So if we recognize that God created us, and if we recognize that we're destined to be judged by Him and to live forever, well then, by an act of justice, that means that we have an obligation to practice religion, which includes that we have a duty of prayer and a duty of obedience. And so the duty of prayer includes both privately and publicly acts of worship, acts of gratitude for the life that He's given us, and seeking His help in the things that we need as a son seeks the help of his father. And by obedience, we recognize that at that point in our vlogs, it meant following the dictates of the natural law, which we found already existing within our hearts. And at this step, we also asked the question, well, okay, if I'm obliged to practice a religion, am I obliged to practice any kind of particular religion or join any kind of organized religion? Or can I simply pursue God as I see fit and as I would like? If you remember, our answer was that if God had never revealed a particular religion, then we wouldn't be obliged in any way to join any particular religion. But we pointed out that there are religions that claim to be a religion that is revealed by God. And since those religions do exist, it places an obligation on ourselves to examine the evidence to see if their claim is indeed worthy or not. And that brought us then to our fourth step, which was that Christianity is a religion worthy of belief. And we pointed out that because Christ claimed to be God Himself, if that were proved true, then all other religions would automatically be rejected as false religions. And in order to do this, we first examined the Gospels, and we showed that the Gospel accounts are indeed reliable sources of information. We showed that they were actually written by the authors to whom they were ascribed, revealing that they were either written by eyewitnesses themselves or they were written secondhand from what they heard from the eyewitnesses themselves. And we showed that the writers were reliably informed, they were sincere, meaning there was no reason for them to make up lies or stories, and that they were very accurate in the things which they recorded. So then, looking at the Gospels with assurance, we showed beyond a shadow of a doubt that Christ did claim to be God. His apostles understood it, the Jews understood it, and His enemies understood it. And we pointed out then that He also backed up that claim, 1, through His personal holiness of life, 2, through His wondrous works, meaning all His miracles, but especially His resurrection, and 3, by His prophecies, which clearly revealed that He possessed the divine knowledge. Seeing then that Christianity is the religion revealed by God, that brings us to our present point, which is the fifth step. And in this step, we want to begin to show that Christ, in revealing his religion, also founded a church, and that he intended all of his followers to belong to that church. But, says the searching soul, when I look at Christianity, I see many different churches. So, is there any evidence that would point to one particular church as the one church that Christ established? That is what we will begin to examine on our sixth step. We'll look at the evidence and see that yes, the evidence does point to a particular church, and that church is the Holy Roman Catholic Church. Thanks for joining me here on No Apologies. Ave Maria.